brought to you by Soundlibra.com. You can find a direct link to our full library in the description of this audio, or visit us anytime at Soundlibra.com. Discover the key to achieving lasting success today.
I'm so excited for this series, Alex. Though, before we jump into the heart of things, just a quick heads up for our listeners. While we're exploring the psychology of success, this isn't medical or professional mental health advice, so always check in with a pro for your specific situation.
Great point, Lisa. Welcome. We're about to explore the heart of achieving lasting success.
I'm ready. I've often felt like I'm battling consistency and struggling to make progress.
That's what we're here to change. We're introducing a powerful framework, the discipline equation. It's the fundamental understanding behind sustained achievement.
The discipline equation. What exactly is it?
At its core, the discipline equation is the synergy between two crucial elements, willpower and systems. It's the dynamic interplay between them that unlocks consistent progress and profound success.
So it's like having the engine and the roadmap?
Exactly. Willpower is your engine, your internal drive. Systems are your roadmap, the structures and processes that guide your journey. A powerful engine without a map won't get you far, and a map without an engine is useless.
I think my problem has always been relying too much on the engine. My willpower, that motivation, it's so fleeting.
Willpower is a finite resource. If your strategy rests solely on willpower, you're building on shifting sands. It will crumble under pressure.
So, how do systems come into play? I always thought of them as boring and rigid.
Systems aren't about stifling your freedom. They're about creating the conditions for your willpower to flourish and for progress to become nearly effortless. They're the scaffolding that supports your goals, reducing the need for constant willpower.
Effortless progress. Can you give an example?
Certainly. Let's say your goal is to eat healthier. Relying on willpower means fighting cravings daily, making conscious decisions at every meal. It's exhausting.
Oh, absolutely. My willpower reserves are nearly gone by dinner time.
Now, imagine you implement a system. You meal prep your lunches and dinners on Sundays. You stock your fridge with healthy snacks and keep tempting foods out of the house. You set a reminder to drink water. This is systems design. When hunger strikes, your environment and pre-planned actions guide you towards the healthy choice with minimal demand on your willpower. The hard decision has already been made.
Wow. So, the system makes the right choice the easy choice.
Precisely. The discipline equation states that the more robust your systems, the less raw willpower you need. You're not fighting yourself. You're creating an environment that supports your best intentions.
This is starting to click. So, willpower is the fuel, and systems are the well-built road that uses that fuel efficiently.
That's a great analogy. Throughout this series, we'll explore the nuances of your willpower, how to understand it, manage it, and deploy it strategically.
And on the system side?
We'll dissect the architecture of success. We'll look at habit loops, the triggers, routines, and rewards that shape our actions. We'll explore how to engineer your environment, build accountability, and overcome obstacles like fatigue.
It sounds like a guide to fundamentally changing how we approach our goals.
That's the aspiration. It's about building a sustainable framework for long-term success and personal growth. It's about transforming the difficult into the routine.
I remember setting a New Year's resolution to read more. I bought books, and for a week, I felt great. But then life happened, and those books became a reminder of my failure. My willpower evaporated, and I had no system to catch me.
A classic example, if you'd had a system like scheduling 30 minutes of reading before bed or joining a book club for accountability, that initial motivation could have been sustained and converted into a lasting habit.
So, the discipline equation is really about making discipline feel less like a chore and more like a natural consequence of how you've set up your life.
Exactly. It's about making consistent action the path of least resistance. We'll provide you with the tools and understanding to build your own discipline equation. We'll unpack how to design habits that stick and how to maintain momentum.
I'm ready to stop battling myself and start building something more sustainable.
And that's what we're here to help you do. To recap our foundational concept, success isn't just about effort, it's about smart effort. The discipline equation highlights that lasting success is achieved through the powerful combination of your internal drive, your willpower, and the smart, supportive structures you build around yourself, your systems.
Willpower is the engine, and systems are the well-designed roadmap that ensures you get where you want to go efficiently without burning out.
Precisely. In our next episode, we'll dive headfirst into the engine itself, the fascinating world of willpower. We'll explore its nature, its limitations, and how to truly harness its power.
I can't wait. Next episode, Willpower, the engine of action.
That's right. Join us. Welcome back. Last time, we unveiled the core idea. Discipline equals willpower plus systems. Today, we're diving deep into willpower.
Willpower sounds straightforward, but it's a complex force that drives action. Understanding its nature is key to success.
Misconceptions abound. Willpower isn't an unlimited well. Research shows it's a finite resource, like a muscle that tires with overuse.
So, a demanding day depletes our willpower for later tasks. It's not just about resisting temptations.
Precisely. Every decision, every resisted impulse, every moment of focus draws from willpower reserves. This is why big changes demanding simultaneous effort are so difficult.
That explains why I feel drained and make poor choices later. I've already used my willpower budget. How do we overspend it?
Decision fatigue is a major culprit. Constantly making choices, even small ones, depletes willpower.
So by the time I need to decide dinner, my brain just wants pizza.
Exactly. It's not weakness, but low willpower. Suppressing emotions or distracting thoughts also drains willpower through sheer mental effort.
It's the everyday mental juggling, not just big acts of self-control. If willpower is finite, how do we build enough for goals?
Conservation and replenishment are key. First, recognizing low willpower is crucial. Lisa, what are your signs?
Irritability. I get annoyed easily. My focus wanders. I find myself mindlessly scrolling. The temptation to give in becomes overwhelming.
Excellent indicators. Irritability, decreased focus, and heightened temptation susceptibility signal a low willpower battery. Recognizing this lets you manage proactively.
So if I'm grumpy and craving junk food, it's my cue to strategize, not just power through.
Exactly. For conservation, minimize decisions early on. This is where routines and systems, discussed next, become powerful.
Laying out clothes or deciding breakfast in advance saves willpower.
Precisely. You're automating decisions. Creating a predictable environment also helps. Modify your surroundings to reduce temptation exposure.
Practical advice. It's about setting yourself up for success, not failure. How do we recharge?
Sleep is paramount. A well-rested mind is more capable of self-control. Chronic sleep deprivation impairs it significantly.
I can attest to that. When I'm sleep deprived, my resolve crumbles.
It's universal. Intrinsically enjoyable, restorative activities can also replenish willpower. Music, nature, hobbies allow your brain to rest and recover.
So, a mindful walk or listening to a podcast is willpower maintenance.
In essence, yes. Intelligent replenishment. Mindfulness meditation is another scientifically backed method. It improves self-control and emotional regulation.
Mindfulness. It's actively building a stronger willpower muscle.
Exactly. Over time, the more you practice, the more resilient your willpower becomes. However, willpower alone can be unreliable. Systems are crucial for directing that power.
A perfect segue. To recap, willpower is a finite, muscle-like resource depleted by decisions, temptations, and emotions. We recognize signs like irritability and decreased focus. We conserve it by reducing decisions and managing our environment. We replenish it through sleep, enjoyable activities, and mindfulness. But willpower alone isn't enough.
You've got it. Willpower is the engine, but systems are the architecture. Next episode, Systems, the Architecture for Success.
Thanks for listening.
Welcome back. Last time we covered willpower. Now let's tackle systems.
That's right, Alex. Willpower is essential, but it's not always sustainable. Relying solely on willpower to achieve our goals can be exhausting. This is where systems come in. Think of them as the blueprints, the architecture that supports our efforts and makes success more automatic.
Exactly, Lisa. If willpower is the fuel, then systems are the well-engineered roads and highways that guide us to our destination. Without good roads, even the most powerful engine can get stuck in traffic, or worse, veer off course. Systems provide structure, reduce friction, and automate positive behaviors.
So, when we talk about systems in the context of the discipline equation, what are we really referring to? It sounds a bit technical.
It can sound that way, but the principle is quite simple. A system, in this context, is a set of established processes, routines, and environments that make it easier for you to do what you need to do and harder for you to do what you shouldn't. It's about designing your life so that success is the path of least resistance, rather than a constant uphill battle.
That makes so much sense. So instead of constantly needing to muster up a huge amount of willpower to, say, stick to a healthy diet, a good system would make healthy eating the default choice?
Precisely. Imagine you want to eat healthier. If your kitchen is filled with junk food and pre-made meals, every time you feel hungry, you're faced with a decision that requires willpower. You have to actively resist the junk and figure out how to prepare something healthy. That's a system designed for failure.
Oof, I can relate to that scenario all too well. My kitchen used to be a battlefield.
But what if your system is different? What if your kitchen is stocked with fruits, vegetables, and pre-chopped ingredients? What if your meals are planned and easy to assemble? Now, when hunger strikes, the healthy option is readily available and requires minimal effort. The system is now working for you, rather than against you.
That's the architecture for success you mentioned. It's like building a well-organized house instead of just hoping things magically stay tidy.
You got it. And this concept extends beyond just our immediate environment. Systems can include scheduling, organizational tools, accountability partners, and even the timing of our tasks. It's about creating a framework that supports your goals.
Can you give us a more concrete analogy for building these systems?
Certainly, picture yourself as a sculptor. You have a giant block of marble, and your goal is to create a beautiful statue. Willpower is like your hammer and chisel, essential tools for chipping away at the marble. But if you don't have a plan, if you don't understand the form within the stone, you'll be swinging that hammer randomly.
That sounds inefficient and probably leads to a lot of wasted effort.
Exactly. A system, in this analogy, is like having a detailed sketch or a 3D model of the final statue. It's a guide. It tells you where to strike, how much to chip away, and in what direction. Now, with your sketch and your tools, you can start removing large sections of marble with confidence, revealing the sculpted form underneath. The system makes the process manageable and more predictable.
So, The system helps you execute your goal much more effectively and with less brute force.
Indeed, and the beauty of a well-designed system is that it reduces the constant demand on your willpower. Once the system is in place, much of the work happens automatically. Think about brushing your teeth. For most of us, it's a habit, a system. We don't need to spend a lot of willpower deciding to brush. It's part of our morning and evening routine. That's a successful system at work.
That's a great example. It highlights how systems can automate positive behaviors. So, where do we start when we want to build these supporting systems for ourselves?
The first step is to identify the specific goals you want to achieve. Be clear about what success looks like. Once you have that clarity, you can begin to design the processes and environments that will make those goals more attainable. We'll dive into the specifics of designing these systems in future episodes. But for today, the key takeaway is the idea of building an infrastructure that supports your efforts.
So, it's about being proactive and setting ourselves up for success, rather than just relying on our mental strength in the moment.
Absolutely. It's about creating an environment where your desired behaviors are easy and your undesired behaviors are difficult. This often involves making intentional choices about your surroundings, your schedule, and the tools you use.
I'm starting to see how interconnected willpower and systems are. Willpower gets us started, and systems keep us going and make the journey smoother. It's like having both a powerful engine and a well-maintained highway.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. Systems provide the structure, the automation, and the environmental support that allows our willpower to be used more effectively and, in many cases, less frequently. They're the unsung heroes of achievement.
So, to recap this episode, we've learned that systems are the essential architecture that supports our goals. They're about designing our lives to make success the path of least resistance, automating positive behaviors, and reducing the constant strain on our willpower. Just like a sculptor uses a sketch to guide their work, we use systems to provide structure and make our aspirations more attainable.
And in the next episode, we'll begin to build these systems, focusing on the fundamental building blocks of any successful system: habits. We'll explore the habit loop, trigger, routine, and reward, and how understanding it can help us design habits that stick.
Next episode: the habit loop, trigger, routine, reward. Thanks for listening.
Welcome back to the Discipline Equation. Last time, we explored the crucial role of systems. Today, we're diving deep into habits.
Systems provide the framework, but habits are the daily actions that make those systems work. And the habit loop is the scientific explanation for why we do what we do, often without even thinking about it. It's how our brains are wired for efficiency.
Exactly. Think about it. How many things do you do each day on autopilot? Brushing your teeth, driving your usual route to work, checking your phone. These are all habits, and they all follow a distinct pattern.
So, let's break down this pattern. What's the first element of the habit loop?
The first element, the spark that ignites the habit, is the trigger. This is a cue. It could be a time of day, a location, a feeling, a certain person, or even a preceding action. It's whatever signals to your brain that it's time to perform a particular routine.
So, if I'm trying to build a habit of drinking more water, what might be a trigger?
A great example, Lisa. Your trigger could be waking up in the morning. That moment of awareness signals to your brain, okay, it's time to start the day. Or it could be finishing your breakfast. The completion of that meal acts as the cue.
And how do we identify these triggers in our own lives? Because sometimes they feel so subtle.
That's where mindful observation comes in. When you find yourself performing a habit you want to change, or when you wish you were performing a habit you want to build, ask yourself, what just happened? What was I doing right before? What was I feeling? What time was it? The more specific you can be, the better you can identify your personal triggers.
It's like being a detective for your own behavior. I did this, then I felt this urge, then I did that. The trigger is the I did this or I felt this part.
Precisely. Once the trigger is present, your brain anticipates a reward and initiates the routine. This is the second part of the loop, and it's the action itself. It's the familiar behavior that follows the cue.
So, for my water habit, if the trigger is waking up, the routine would be actually drinking the glass of water.
Exactly. For someone trying to break a habit, the trigger might be feeling stressed. The routine could be reaching for a sugary snack or that extra cup of coffee. The routine is the actual behavior, the physical or mental action.
And what makes a routine stick? Why do we repeat certain routines over and over?
That leads us to the third and final part of the loop, the reward. This is what your brain gets out of the experience, and it's what reinforces the habit. The reward makes the habit feel worthwhile, and it's what your brain remembers, prompting you to repeat the behavior the next time the trigger appears.
Ah, the reward. So, for drinking water, the reward could be feeling refreshed, or maybe the satisfaction of doing something good for my body.
Yes, and for healthier habits, we want those rewards to be clear and satisfying. Think about the sugary snack. The immediate reward is a burst of energy and pleasure. That's a very potent, though ultimately detrimental, reward. For our desired habits, we need to engineer effective rewards.
This makes so much sense. So, the trigger is the cue, the routine is the action, and the reward is the payoff that tells your brain, do this again.
You've got it. And the power of this loop is that once it's established, it becomes automatic. Your brain starts to anticipate the reward as soon as the trigger occurs, and it hijacks your decision-making process to execute the routine.
Let me try to apply this to a personal habit I've been trying to build. I want to start meditating for 10 minutes every morning. My trigger, I think, is finishing my morning coffee. I usually just sit there for a few minutes afterwards.
That's a perfect trigger. Finishing your coffee is a clear, predictable cue. So what's your desired routine?
My desired routine is to sit cross-legged, close my eyes, and focus on my breath for 10 minutes.
Excellent. Now, what's the reward you're going to associate with that? It needs to be something that makes continuing the meditation feel good, or at least not like a chore.
At first, I was thinking the reward is just the feeling of calm, but sometimes that's hard to feel immediately. Maybe the reward could be something I give myself after the meditation. Like, for every day I meditate, I get to spend 5 minutes reading a book I enjoy after I finish.
That's a fantastic, tangible reward. You're not relying solely on the internal feeling of accomplishment, which can be inconsistent. You're adding a concrete, pleasurable activity. So, to recap, your trigger is finishing your morning coffee. Your routine is 10 minutes of meditation. And your immediate reward is 5 minutes of enjoyable reading.
Yes, it feels so much more solid when you break it down like that. And it makes sense why I've been struggling. I had the trigger, but my old routine was just scrolling on my phone, and the reward was, well, it was just more scrolling. Not exactly a satisfying payoff.
Exactly. And by understanding the habit loop, you can now consciously design a new loop. You can use your existing trigger, substitute a new, more beneficial routine, and engineer a satisfying reward to reinforce it. This is the core of habit formation and indeed behavior change.
So, the key is to be intentional about each part of the loop. Identify your triggers, choose your routines, and most importantly, create meaningful rewards.
Precisely. Understanding this loop is the first step. In our next episode, we'll build directly on this foundation. We will explore how to design your habits for maximum impact, so you're not just looping, but looping in the right direction to achieve your biggest goals.
So, to recap what we've learned today, habits operate on a three-part loop: the trigger, which is the cue that prompts behavior, the routine, which is the actual behavior itself, and the reward, which is the positive outcome that reinforces the habit and makes your brain want to repeat it. By understanding and consciously designing each part of this loop, we gain the power to build new, positive habits and break unwanted ones.
Happy learning! Welcome back to the discipline equation. Last time, we dove deep into the habit loop: trigger, routine, and reward. Today, we're moving from theory to action. We're designing your habits to ensure maximum impact on your goals.
That's right, Alex. Last episode, we learned how habits form. Now, we're going to learn how to build and refine them intentionally.
Exactly. So, how we start designing habits for maximum impact. The key is to be intentional at every stage of that habit loop. We need to choose our triggers wisely, structure our routines for success, and ensure our rewards are genuinely reinforcing.
And building on episode 4, where we discussed the habit loop, trigger, routine, reward, we're now focusing on crafting a beneficial loop. It's not just about identifying a habit, it's about making sure that habit aligns perfectly with what we want to achieve.
So, let's start with the trigger. Remember, your trigger is a cue that initiates the habit. For designing effective habits, we want to make our triggers as clear and actionable as possible.
This is where my morning routine has really transformed. My trigger used to be my alarm clock, and then I'd just sort of drift into the day. Now, my trigger is a specific gentle chime on my phone, and immediately after that chime, I reach for my water bottle and take a sip. It's a very clean, immediate link.
That's a perfect example of habit stacking, Lisa. Habit stacking is a powerful technique where you link a new habit you want to adopt to an existing habit you already do. You're using an established habit as your trigger for a new one. The formula is, after I current habit, I will new habit.
I love that. So, for me, the current habit is hearing my gentle chime alarm. The new habit is drinking water. It's so simple, and it doesn't require a lot of willpower to remember or initiate.
Precisely. And you can stack multiple habits. For instance, after drinking your water, perhaps you'll do a minute of stretching. So, after my alarm chimes, I will drink a glass of water. After I drink my water, I will do 1 minute of stretching. You're building a chain of actions where each completed habit acts as the trigger for the next.
This makes so much sense. Instead of trying to remember a whole list of new things, each action seamlessly leads into the next. It significantly reduces the mental load.
It truly does. Now, let's talk about the routine itself, the actual behavior you perform. When designing habits, especially those intended for maximum impact, we want to make the routine as easy to execute as possible, especially when you're first starting. This is where the concept of starting small becomes incredibly important.
Ah, the temptation to go from zero to hero overnight. I know I've fallen into that trap. Thinking I'm going to do a 5-kilometer run every morning or write for 2 hours straight. Usually that lasts about a week.
Exactly the trap we want to avoid. For maximum impact over the long term, we need sustainable routines. So if you want to read more, don't aim to read a chapter a day immediately. Aim to read for just 1 minute. If you want to exercise, aim for 5 push-ups or a 2-minute walk. The goal isn't the intensity of the activity when you start. It's the consistency of performing the action.
So the 1 minute or 5 push-ups is the trigger for the brain to recognize, okay, we're doing this habit today. Because it's so small, it's easy to do and less likely to be skipped. And from that small start, you can gradually increase the duration or intensity.
Exactly. You're building the momentum. By making the initial goal ridiculously easy, you guarantee success. And that success, that feeling of accomplishment, is a powerful reward in itself. Which brings us to the reward.
The reward is what makes the habit stick. It's the positive feeling or outcome we get after completing the routine. For designed habits, we need to ensure our rewards are truly satisfying and reinforce the desired behavior, rather than undermining it.
There are immediate rewards and delayed rewards. If your goal is to write a book, the immediate reward after writing for 15 minutes might be a sense of satisfaction or a small treat like a cup of tea. The delayed reward is, of course, a finished book. When designing, we want to leverage immediate rewards as much as possible, especially in the early stages.
So, even if the ultimate goal is far off, I can give myself a small, tangible reward right after completing the routine. Maybe it's listening to a favorite song for 5 minutes, or allowing myself to check social media for a brief, preset time.
Yes, but be mindful of the reward. If your habit is to meditate for 10 minutes to reduce stress, your reward shouldn't be grabbing a sugary snack that will ultimately increase your stress later. The reward should align with the purpose of the habit. For many, the best reward for a healthy habit is simply acknowledging the success itself. A mental pat on the back, a moment of pride.
I've found that for my morning routine, the reward is actually feeling more alert and ready for the day. That feeling of a productive start is genuinely rewarding, and it makes me want to repeat the actions that led to it.
That's the natural, intrinsic reward, and it's the most powerful. But to get there, we often need to engineer some extrinsic rewards in the beginning. Another way to design for impact is through habit chaining. We touched on habit stacking, which is like building a linear chain. Habit chaining is similar, but it can involve linking multiple habits to achieve a larger outcome.
So, rather than just saying after X, I do Y, it's more like to achieve Z, I need to do X, then Y, then A, then B. Each step is a habit, and the chain of habits leads to the bigger goal.
Precisely. Think about training for a marathon. Your habit chain might be wake up, drink water, go for a run, stretch, refuel. Each of those is a discrete habit, but together they form the chain that leads to marathon readiness.
It feels like this whole process is about removing friction and creating momentum. By setting clear triggers, making routines easy, and providing satisfying rewards, you're essentially greasing the wheels of action.
That's a great way to put it, Lisa. And it connects back to our earlier episodes. Remember when we discussed willpower as the engine and systems as the architecture? Designing your habits is about building those effective systems, using the habit loop as your blueprint, and ensuring your willpower has a clear, well-paved road to move on.
It's really about making the desired behavior the path of least resistance. If I want to be healthier, I need to design my environment and my habits so that eating well and moving are the default, not the struggle.
Absolutely. So, to recap today's episode on designing habits for maximum impact, we've learned the power of intentional habit design by focusing on each part of the habit loop. We explored habit stacking and habit chaining as powerful techniques for linking behaviors. We emphasized the importance of starting small to build sustainable routines and ensure consistency. And we discussed crafting effective rewards, both immediate and intrinsic, to reinforce our desired actions. Remember, it's not just about forming habits, it's about forming the right habits in the right way.
So, the key takeaway is to be deliberate. Choose your triggers, simplify your routines, and make sure the rewards are meaningful. Start small, and let those small wins build into something significant.
This intentional design sets us up perfectly for our next episode, where we'll explore accountability engineering, making yourself responsible for sticking to these design habits and systems. Because as good as the design is, we still need ways to keep ourselves on track.
Looking forward to it.
Next episode, accountability engineering, making yourself responsible. Welcome back. Last time, we explored how to design your habits for maximum impact. Now, we're tackling accountability engineering.
This is all about making yourself and keeping yourself responsible for your commitments. It's like having a built-in chaperone for your success plan.
Accountability isn't just about having someone check up on you. It's a powerful psychological tool. When you make a commitment, especially an external one, you create a social contract. We feel a greater obligation to follow through when others are aware of our intentions.
So, it's moving the commitment from just a personal goal to something with social weight. That makes sense. I've definitely felt that pull. If I tell a friend I'm going to the gym, I'm far more likely to go than if I just vaguely think, I should exercise today.
Precisely. This is the core of accountability engineering. We want to design systems that leverage this principle. Think about it. The more visible your commitment, the stronger the accountability. This can range from simple self-monitoring to more structured partnerships.
Let's break down these different levels. What does simple self monitoring look like?
Simple self-monitoring is where you're primarily responsible to yourself, but you use tools to make that self-awareness more concrete. This ties directly back to the systems we discussed earlier. For example, a private journal where you log your daily progress on a habit, or using a habit tracking app on your phone. You're not necessarily showing this to anyone else, but the act of recording your actions creates a tangible record. This record itself becomes a form of accountability because you can see your streaks or your slip-ups clearly laid out.
So, it's about creating a data trail for yourself. That's a good starting point. What's the next level up?
The next level often involves an accountability partner. This is someone you trust who is also working on their own goals, and you agree to support and check in with each other. This could be a friend, a colleague, or even a family member. The key here is mutual commitment. You agree to report on your progress, and they do the same.
I've experienced this firsthand. I joined a small accountability group for learning a new skill. We had a weekly check in where we'd share our progress, any challenges we faced, and what we planned to accomplish in the next week. It was incredibly motivating and kept me on track, even when I felt like slacking off. Seeing everyone else's commitment made me want to show up for them and for myself.
That's a perfect example, Lisa. An accountability group, like the one you were in, is an even more powerful form of this. Here, you have multiple people holding each other accountable. This amplifies the social pressure and provides a wider network of support. It also diversifies your feedback. Different people might offer different perspectives on your challenges.
And when you have a group meeting, you're not just accountable to one person, but to several. It really ups the stakes. It feels more significant. So, we have self-monitoring, an accountability partner, and an accountability group. Are there even more formal levels?
Yes, there are. You can move into professional accountability. This is where you might hire a coach, a mentor, or a trainer. These individuals are paid to guide you, monitor your progress, and provide expert feedback and encouragement. Their professional role provides a strong incentive for you to take your commitment seriously. They are skilled at helping you navigate challenges and refine your strategies, just like we're trying to do with the discipline equation.
That makes sense. It's like investing in your success. When you're paying for it, you're naturally going to put in the effort to get your money's worth. It's a tangible demonstration of your own commitment to your goals.
Exactly. Now, regardless of the level you choose, there are key principles for effective accountability engineering. First, be specific. Don't say, I'll work out more. Say, I will go to the gym for 60 minutes 3 times this week, on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings. Specificity makes progress measurable and achievable.
That ties back to our habit design, making things clear and actionable. Vague goals are hard to track and easy to ignore.
Absolutely. Second, make it regular. Consistent check-ins are crucial. Whether it's daily, weekly, or monthly, establish a rhythm. This rhythm builds momentum and prevents issues from festering. A weekly check-in with a partner is far more effective than a single check-in once a year.
So, think of it like scheduled maintenance for your goals. Frequent, small checks are better than one big, overwhelming one.
That's a great analogy. Third, be honest. This is perhaps the hardest part, especially with self-monitoring or less formal partnerships. You need to be truthful about your successes and your failures. Sugarcoating or making excuses undermines the whole process. The goal is improvement, not perfection.
Honesty is tough, but essential. If you're not honest with your accountability partner, or even with yourself in your journal, you're just fooling yourself.
Precisely. And fourth, focus on solutions, not just problems. When you report a challenge, come prepared with potential solutions, or at least a willingness to brainstorm them. Accountability isn't about dwelling on setbacks. It's about learning from them and moving forward.
So, instead of just saying, I couldn't stick to my meditation habit this week, you'd say, I struggled to meditate this week because my mornings were too rushed. I'm thinking about trying to meditate right after dinner instead. What do you think?
Perfect. That shows you're engaged with the process and actively seeking ways to overcome obstacles. Remember, we've been building systems throughout this series. Accountability structures are just another layer of systems design. You can integrate accountability into your existing routines. For instance, if you have a weekly review system, you can incorporate reporting to your accountability partner into that review.
That's a fantastic point, Alex. It's not about adding more things to do, but about weaving accountability into the fabric of what you're already doing. It makes it feel less like an extra burden and more like a natural part of your workflow towards your goals.
Indeed. So, to recap this episode's focus on accountability engineering, we've established that accountability is a powerful psychological tool that leverages social contracts and external commitments. We've explored different levels of accountability, from self-monitoring with journals and apps, to working with an accountability partner or group, and even engaging professional coaches. And we've outlined 4 key principles for effective accountability. Be specific, make it regular, be honest, and focus on solutions.
It really is about engineering responsibility into your life. By consciously designing these structures, you create a robust support system that helps you stay on course, especially when willpower falters. It's about making sure that the goals you set are not just wishes, but commitments that you're equipped to follow through on.
And that sets us up perfectly for our next episode, where we'll tackle overcoming obstacles, specifically focusing on fatigue and burnout management. Because even with the best accountability systems, life happens, and we need strategies to keep going. Next episode, overcoming obstacles, fatigue, and burnout management. Welcome back. Last time, we really dug into accountability engineering, making sure you're truly responsible for your commitments. Today, we're tackling a giant of an obstacle that trips up so many people aiming for lasting discipline: fatigue and burnout. How we keep the engine running when we feel like we're running on empty.
Oh, Alex, this is such a crucial topic. Burnout felt like a brick wall I hit more than once. It's not just feeling tired, it's that deep, pervasive exhaustion that drains your motivation and your will to even try. So, how do we avoid that wall, or at least climb over it?
Exactly, Lisa. It's vital to understand that our energy isn't infinite. Remember in episode 2, we talked about willpower as a finite resource? Fatigue and burnout are the ultimate drainers of that willpower. They're biological and psychological states that tell your brain, stop, rest. You've reached your limit.
So, it's not a moral failing to feel tired then? Sometimes I used to beat myself up when I couldn't push through.
Absolutely not. It's a biological signal, like hunger or thirst. Pushing past it consistently leads to burnout. Burnout isn't just about being tired. It's a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. It happens when the demands on your resources, your time, and energy consistently outweigh the available resources.
That makes sense. When I was experiencing burnout, it felt like I had nothing left to give, not just for my big goals, but for even simple daily tasks. What are the main culprits behind this exhaustion?
There are several interconnected factors. First and foremost is sleep hygiene. We often sacrifice sleep for more productive time, but it's a false economy. Poor sleep devastates your cognitive function, your mood, and your physical energy. Think of sleep as your body's essential maintenance period. Skipping on it is like never taking your car in for an oil change. Eventually, the engine seizes.
I've definitely been guilty of late night work sessions that shortchange my sleep. And then I wonder why I'm dragging the next day.
It's a common pattern. Good sleep hygiene means a consistent sleep schedule, a relaxing bedtime routine, and optimizing your sleep environment. Dark, quiet, and cool. Beyond sleep, sustained mental effort without adequate breaks is another major contributor. Our brains aren't designed for constant, high-intensity focus for hours on end. Imagine trying to hold a heavy weight steady for an hour. Your muscles would eventually tremble and give out. Our minds are similar.
So, those marathon work sessions without stepping away are actually counterproductive in the long run?
Precisely. This is where strategic breaks become essential. These aren't just breaks to scroll through social media. They should be genuine pauses that allow your mind to disengage. Even short breaks, like 5 to 10 minutes every hour, can significantly improve your ability to sustain effort and focus when you return to your task. Think of it as a mental refresh button.
I remember when I finally started implementing structured breaks. I'd set a timer, walk away from my desk, maybe stretch, or just look out the window. It felt weird at first, like I was slacking off, but my ability to concentrate when I got back was so much better.
That's the power of intentional rest. Another key factor is resource management beyond just time and energy. This includes managing your physical health through nutrition and exercise, and also your emotional health. Chronic stress, unresolved emotional issues, and a lack of social connection can all deplete your reserves, making you more susceptible to fatigue and burnout.
So, it's not just about powering through work. It's about holistic well-being.
Exactly. And this ties directly back to our discipline equation. If willpower and systems are the engine and the chassis, then managing fatigue and preventing burnout is ensuring the engine has good fuel, regular maintenance, and doesn't overheat. We can't build sustainable discipline on an exhausted foundation.
That's a fantastic analogy, Alex. So, what are some practical strategies for managing fatigue and preventing burnout? We've touched on sleep and breaks. What else?
We need to talk about energy management, which is proactive. It's about understanding your personal energy cycles. Some people are morning larks, others night owls. Working with your natural energy rhythms, rather than against them, can make a huge difference. Schedule your most demanding tasks for when you have the most energy.
I've noticed I'm much sharper and more creative in the morning. If I try to tackle complex problems late at night, it's like wading through mud.
That's your personal energy cycle. Embrace it. Another strategy is boundary setting. This is crucial for preventing the constant demands from others or even from ourselves from draining our reserves. Learning to say no to non-essential requests, protecting your personal time, and clearly defining your work and rest periods are vital.
Boundary setting was one of the hardest things for me to learn. I always felt like I had to be available and say yes to everything. But it led to me feeling resentful and overloaded.
It's a common struggle, and it comes back to valuing your own resources. Recovery and rejuvenation are also key. This means scheduling downtime not just as breaks, but as dedicated periods for activities that recharge you. This could be hobbies, spending time in nature, mindfulness practices, or connecting with loved ones. These aren't luxuries. They are essential for long-term resilience.
I remember when I hit a really bad burnout phase. I stopped doing everything I enjoyed because I was too exhausted. When I finally started to recover, I consciously scheduled time for things that brought me joy, even if it was just 20 minutes of painting or listening to music. It was a slow process, but those moments started to fill my cup back up.
That's a powerful testament, Lisa. It shows that recovery and rejuvenation are active processes, not passive occurrences. And as we build our systems, we need to integrate these elements from start. Your systems shouldn't just be about maximizing output. They should also be about ensuring sustainability. This includes scheduling your breaks, your downtime, and even your sleep.
So, instead of just having a task list, I should also have a recharge list or scheduled downtime.
Exactly. Think of it as building resilience into your discipline architecture. We also need to be mindful of avoiding perfectionism. The pressure to be perfect can lead to overwork and anxiety, which are precursors to burnout. Aim for excellence, yes, but understand that good enough is often truly enough, especially when it allows you to maintain your energy and enthusiasm.
That's a tough one for me. The all or nothing thinking can be a real trap.
It certainly can be. And finally, we need to listen to our bodies and minds. Self-awareness is paramount. Recognizing the early signs of fatigue or overwhelm, irritability, difficulty concentrating, a loss of enthusiasm, signals that you need to adjust your approach before you reach a crisis point. This means being honest with yourself about your capacity.
So, to recap, managing fatigue and preventing burnout involves prioritizing sleep hygiene, taking strategic breaks, managing our energy cycles, setting boundaries, actively pursuing recovery and rejuvenation, letting go of perfectionism, and cultivating self-awareness to recognize early warning signs. It's about building a sustainable approach to discipline, not a sprint.
You've got it. We've linked how building sustainable energy and managing fatigue is absolutely critical for the longevity of any discipline pursuit. It's about making sure our willpower and systems can operate smoothly without burning out the operator.
This has been incredibly insightful, Alex. It's so easy to overlook these fundamental aspects of well-being in the pursuit of our goals.
Indeed, we've now explored how fundamental self-care is to maintaining discipline and ensuring the long-term success of your goals. Next episode, the power of environment design. Welcome back. Last time we dove deep into managing fatigue and burnout. Now, let's tackle something incredibly powerful, yet often overlooked, the power of your environment.
Your environment, Alex? You mean like the stuff around us?
Exactly, Lisa. Think about it. From the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, your surroundings are constantly sending signals. They either nudge you towards your goals or pull you away. We're talking about both your physical space, your home, your office, and your digital space, your phone, your computer.
That makes sense. I know when my desk is a mess, I feel overwhelmed and just less productive. It's like the clutter is a constant distraction.
Precisely. This is where we revisit our systems pillar. Remember how we said systems are the architecture for success? Well, your environment is a critical part of that architecture. It's about designing your surroundings so that discipline becomes easier and undesirable behaviors become harder. We're going to call this environment design.
Environment design. So, it's not just about tidying up, it's about intentionality.
Absolutely. Let's break it down into a few key principles. First, declutter and simplify. This applies to both physical and digital spaces. When you have fewer distractions, your focus naturally sharpens. Think about visual clutter. Too many objects on your desk, a messy home, or a phone screen packed with irrelevant apps. These all demand cognitive energy.
So, the less there is to process visually, the less your brain has to work to ignore things it shouldn't be paying attention to.
You've got it. And that ties into our second principle. Make desired behaviors obvious. Remember the habit loop from episode 4? The trigger is the first step. We want to make the triggers for our good habits as obvious as possible. If you want to drink more water, keep a water bottle on your desk. If you want to read more, leave a book open on your coffee table.
Oh, like habit stacking. In episode 5, we talked about linking a new habit to an existing one. This is like making the trigger for the new habit really easy to see.
Excellent callback, Lisa. It's very similar. By making the cue prominent, you're essentially setting yourself up for success. The next principle is the flip side. Make undesired behaviors invisible. If you want to reduce mindless scrolling on your phone, delete distracting apps, or move them to a folder that's hard to access. If you're tempted by unhealthy snacks, don't keep them in the house.
That's a tough one, but so effective. It's about removing the temptation before it even has a chance to be a temptation.
Exactly. It removes that moment of internal debate. You don't have to exert willpower to resist if the option simply isn't readily available. Fourth, we have leverage cues and reminders. This goes beyond just making things obvious. It's about setting up specific prompts. This could be a digital alarm on your phone, a sticky note on your monitor, or even arranging your workspace in a particular way before you start task.
So if I want to start my workday by journaling, I could have my journal open and a pen right next to my laptop when I sit down. That's a visual cue.
Perfect example. And finally, optimize for flow. This is about creating conditions where you can get into a state of deep focus or flow. It means minimizing interruptions, ensuring you have everything you need within reach, and creating a dedicated space for focused work. This might involve using noise-canceling headphones or setting a do not disturb status online.
So, to recap those environmental design principles, declutter and simplify, make desired behaviors obvious, make undesired behaviors invisible, leverage cues and reminders, and optimize for flow. That's a powerful framework.
It really is, and the impact can be profound. Let me tell you about a friend, Mark. He's a graphic designer, and for years, he struggled with procrastination, especially on big projects. His home office was a chaotic mix of design supplies, personal items, and paperwork.
Sounds familiar.
He decided to implement environment design seriously. First, he decluttered. He cleared his desk, got rid of anything that wasn't essential for his design work, and organized his digital files ruthlessly. Then, he made his creative tools obvious. His drawing tablet was always plugged in, his favorite design software was on his desktop's main icon bar, and his sketchbook was open.
So the triggers for his design work were right there.
Yes, he also made temptations invisible. He turned off all non-essential notifications on his computer and phone during work hours and even removed social media apps from his phone entirely, only accessing them on his personal tablet later. He set up specific cues, like having a cup of tea ready before he'd start a sketching session.
And the flow part?
He dedicated one area of his office solely for deep work, ensuring it was quiet and free from household distractions. Within weeks, Mark noticed a dramatic shift. His creative output increased, the quality of his work improved because he was more focused, and the dread he used to feel about starting tasks significantly diminished. It wasn't that his willpower suddenly became stronger, it was that his environment was now supporting his discipline, not fighting against it.
That's such a tangible example. It proves that we don't have to rely solely on our internal strength. We can build external scaffolding. I've been thinking about my own workspace. It's okay, but I definitely have too many things within my line of sight that I don't need. And my phone, well, the battle is real.
Your phone is a major battleground for many people. Thinking about your digital environment is crucial. Beyond just deleting apps, consider your phone's home screen. Is it a source of inspiration and productivity or a gateway to distraction? Many people find success by having only essential apps on their main screen and grouping others into folders. Some even use grayscale mode to make it less appealing.
Grayscale mode? That's clever. It removes the allure of vibrant colors. I can see how that would make a difference.
It's all about making the path of least resistance align with your desired outcomes. This isn't about willpower versus environment. It's about your environment amplifying your willpower and your systems. Your environment is constantly communicating with you, telling you what behaviors are expected, what's important, and what's distracting. By taking control of that communication, you gain a significant advantage.
So, it's like intentionally architecting your world so it nudges you towards the person you want to be and the things you want to achieve.
Exactly. It's a proactive approach. Instead of constantly battling distractions, you're setting up your life to naturally favor your goals. This is a foundational aspect of building sustainable success. When your systems are reinforced by an environment designed for discipline, That's when you truly start to unlock your potential.
This has been so insightful, Alex. I'm already thinking about specific changes I can make to my home and digital spaces. It feels empowering to know we can shape our surroundings to help us, rather than hinder us.
And that's the essence of environment design. It's a powerful, often underutilized tool in the discipline toolkit. We've covered how to declutter, make good behaviors obvious and bad ones invisible, use cues, and optimize for focus. By intentionally designing your physical and digital worlds, you create a foundation that makes discipline feel less like a struggle and more like a natural outcome. Next episode, we'll explore the fascinating psychology behind motivation and how to keep that momentum going strong. Welcome back. Last time we covered environment design. Now, let's build sustainable ecosystems.
That sounds like a great next step, Alex. We've talked about individual components like willpower, systems, and habits. Now we're putting it all together. So, Alex, what exactly do you mean by sustainable ecosystems in the context of personal growth and success?
Think of a natural ecosystem, Lisa. It's not just one thing, but a complex web of interconnected elements, plants, animals, soil, water, all working together to create a stable, thriving environment. A sustainable ecosystem for personal triumph is very similar. It's a carefully designed, interconnected framework of the strategies we've discussed, working in harmony to support our goals over the long term. It's about creating an environment where success isn't a sudden burst, but a continuous, flowing process.
Ah, I see. So, instead of just having a good habit here or a strong system there, we're weaving them all together so they reinforce each other? It's like building a self-sustaining engine for achievement.
Exactly. And this ecosystem isn't just about the tools we use, but also about how we manage our energy, how we hold ourselves accountable, and crucially, how we celebrate our progress and learn from setbacks. It's a holistic approach. We've already covered a lot of the building blocks. Willpower as the initial spark, systems as the structure, the habit loop as the recurring action, and designing those habits for impact. Now, we're creating the larger blueprint where all these elements live and thrive.
That makes a lot of sense. It reminds me of our earlier episodes. When we talked about the habit loop, trigger, routine, reward, that's a core component of any ecosystem. And designing those habits for maximum impact from episode 5, that's about making sure each habit in our ecosystem is efficient and effective.
Precisely. Now, let's look at the components we need to integrate into this ecosystem for sustainability. First, we need robust accountability engineering, which we covered in episode 6. This isn't just about telling someone your goal. It's about embedding mechanisms that ensure you follow through, even when motivation wanes. This could be regular check-ins, public commitments, or even self-imposed consequences that are part of your system.
Right. For me, when I was working on my fitness goals, accountability was huge. I joined that online group, and the scheduled check-ins there, along with sharing my workout logs, created that built-in accountability. It wasn't just me hoping I'd go for a run. It was something I was actively reporting on.
That's a perfect example of integrating accountability into your personal ecosystem. Next, we need to consider fatigue and burnout management, our topic from episode 7. A sustainable ecosystem recognizes that we're human and have finite energy. It incorporates strategies to prevent depletion. This means scheduling rest, managing stress, and understanding your personal energy cycles. You can't outrun burnout indefinitely. So building in recovery is essential for long-term success.
So, it's not about pushing yourself to the absolute limit every single day, but about smart energy management. Knowing when to push and when to rest is a critical part of the ecosystem's durability.
Absolutely. And how does environment design, which we discussed last time, fit in? It becomes a foundational element of the ecosystem. Your physical and social environments should be configured to support your chosen habits and goals. If your goal is to eat healthier, your kitchen environment should be stocked with healthy foods, and the unhealthy snacks should be out of sight or out of the house. If your goal is to write, your workspace should be conducive to focus.
So, our environment design isn't just a one-off action. It's a continuous part of maintaining the ecosystem. It's like tending to the garden, ensuring the conditions are always right for growth.
A beautiful analogy, Lisa. Now, a crucial element for sustainability is celebrating wins and learning from setbacks. This ties into the reward part of the habit loop, but it's broader. Regularly acknowledging progress, no matter how small, reinforces positive behavior and maintains motivation. And when things don't go as planned, because they will, viewing setbacks not as failures, but as learning opportunities is vital. This requires a mindset shift that must be built into your ecosystem.
I can see how that's so important. If every setback feels like a true failure, it's easy to get discouraged and abandon the effort. But if we reframe it as data collection or a learning experience, it keeps us moving forward. How do we actually build this, Alex? It sounds like a lot of pieces.
It is, but it's a progressive build. Let's take your fitness example. You've established habits, exercise routines, healthy eating. You put accountability in place, your online group. You're managing your energy by not overtraining. Your environment supports it. Maybe you have a home gym or your running shoes are by the door. Now think about the connective tissue.
Okay, connective tissue. What does that look like?
It's about the synergy. Imagine your morning routine. Your alarm is set to get you enough sleep, respecting your energy needs. You get up and your workout clothes are laid out, a trigger for your exercise habit. After your workout, you have a prepped healthy breakfast, reinforcing the healthy eating habit. You then log your workout, fulfilling your accountability commitment. Each part flows into the next, making the entire chain smoother and more automatic. The reward isn't just the feeling after the workout, but the accomplishment of successfully navigating your entire morning routine as planned.
So, the success of one element makes the next element easier. It's like dominoes falling, but in a positive way that builds momentum. And if one domino falls, the ecosystem has enough resilience to reset?
Exactly. Resilience is key. Some days, you might miss a workout. That's where the learning from setbacks comes in. Instead of giving up, you'd ask yourself, what prevented me from working out today? Was I too tired? Did my schedule get disrupted? Then, you adjust your ecosystem. Maybe you need to shift your workout time or build in an extra rest day. This iterative process, build, assess, adjust, is what makes the ecosystem truly sustainable.
I love that. It's not static, it's alive and evolving. It's like you're constantly fine-tuning your personal success machine.
You've got it. This is where the personal triumphs come in. When all these elements are working together, you're not just achieving goals, you're building a robust capacity for future achievements. You become more resilient to life's inevitable challenges because your foundation is strong and interconnected. It's about creating momentum that carries you forward, rather than starting from scratch every time.
So, to recap for our listeners, building sustainable ecosystems means weaving together the tools we've discussed: habits, willpower, systems, accountability, and environment design. It means managing our energy wisely and, crucially, setting up ways to celebrate our wins and learn from our setbacks. This creates a powerful, interconnected framework that supports long-term success and personal growth.
Perfectly summarized, Lisa. In the next episode, let's explore the psychology of motivation and maintaining momentum. Next episode, the psychology of motivation and maintaining momentum. Welcome back to the Discipline Equation. Today, we're diving into motivation and maintaining momentum.
That's so true, Alex.
We've talked about willpower and building systems, but motivation is that spark, isn't it? It's what gets us started and hopefully keeps us going when things get tough. So, what's on the agenda for today's deep dive into motivation?
Well, Lisa, we're going to unpack the different kinds of motivation, especially the powerhouse that is intrinsic motivation. We'll explore why it's so much more effective for long-term success than just chasing external rewards. Then, we'll tackle the big question: what do you do when motivation inevitably dips? How do we maintain that precious momentum using the tools we've already built, like our systems and accountability partners?
That sounds incredibly practical. I think everyone struggles with motivation at some point. It's so easy to feel energized when you start something new, but then life happens and that initial excitement fades.
Exactly. And that's where understanding the psychology behind it comes in. Broadly speaking, we can categorize motivation into two main types: extrinsic and intrinsic. Extrinsic motivation comes from outside ourselves. It's about rewards or avoiding punishment. Think of getting a bonus for hitting a sales target or studying hard to avoid failing a class.
Okay, so that's like external pressure or external gains. I get that. It can be a good starting point.
It absolutely can be. Extrinsic motivators are powerful for initial action. They can be the push you need to get over the starting line. However, the problem with relying solely on extrinsic motivation is that it's often temporary. Once the reward is gone or the threat is removed, the drive can disappear with it. It's like eating candy. It gives you a quick burst of energy, but it doesn't provide sustained nourishment.
And that's where intrinsic motivation steps in as the healthier, longer term option, right?
Precisely. Intrinsic motivation comes from within. It's the internal desire to do something because it's personally rewarding, enjoyable, or aligns with your values and sense of self. It's the joy of learning a new skill for its own sake, the satisfaction of solving a complex problem, or the sense of purpose you get from helping others.
So it's about doing something because you want to, not because you have to or because you'll get something for it.
You've hit the nail on the head. When you're intrinsically motivated, the activity itself is the reward. This makes it far more sustainable. Think about a hobby you love. You probably don't need a bonus to keep doing it, right? You do it because it brings you joy, fulfillment, or a sense of accomplishment. This internal drive is robust.
That makes so much sense. And I imagine cultivating intrinsic motivation is key to making our discipline equation work long term. But how do we do that, especially for things that might not feel inherently fun at first?
That's the million-dollar question. One of the most effective ways to foster intrinsic motivation is through autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Remember we touched on these lightly in earlier episodes? Autonomy is about having a sense of control over your actions. When you feel you have choices, you're more likely to be engaged. Mastery is about the drive to improve and become good at something. The feeling of progress and competence fuels motivation. And purpose is about understanding why you're doing something, how it connects to something larger than yourself.
So, even if the task itself is a bit of a grind, if I feel like I have a say in how I approach it, if I can see myself getting better at it, and if I understand its bigger significance, I'm more likely to stick with it.
Exactly. Now let's talk about the inevitable. What happens when motivation wanes? Because it will happen. This is where our previous discussions on systems and accountability become superheroes. When intrinsic motivation flickers, your systems are the infrastructure that keeps you moving.
Ah, yes. Like having a programmed workout schedule or a designated writing time. Even if I don't feel like it, the system is there, ready to guide me.
Precisely. Your systems are your safety net and your autopilot. They reduce the reliance on fleeting feelings. For instance, if you designed a habit loop, trigger, routine, reward, as we discussed in episode 4, when the trigger appears, the routine is already set. You don't need a surge of motivation to decide to do the routine. You just do it because it's part of your established process.
And the reward, even if it's just the satisfaction of completing the step, helps reinforce that loop and, hopefully, reconnects us with our intrinsic drive.
Absolutely. And accountability, whether it's a coach, a friend, or even just a public commitment, adds an external layer of consistency. Knowing someone else is expecting you to follow through can be a powerful motivator when your internal drive is low. It's another way of engineering success, making it less dependent on your emotional state.
I can totally see how those elements work together. It's not about being motivated all the time, but about having the structures in place so you can act even when motivation is low.
That's the true essence of discipline. It's about building a bridge from where you are to where you want to be, and that bridge needs to be sturdy enough to withstand periods of low motivation. You need to be able to ride the waves.
Speaking of riding the waves, I have a personal story about this. A few months ago, I was working on a really complex project at work. I was initially excited, but about halfway through, I hit a wall. The details were tedious, and I wasn't seeing the immediate results I'd hoped for. My motivation plummeted.
Oh, I know that feeling. What did you do?
Well, I could have easily let it slide. But I remembered our conversations. First, I leaned on my systems. I had my daily check-in set up for this project, and I stuck to them, even if it felt like pulling teeth. Second, I spoke to my colleague Sarah, who was also peripherally involved and who I'd informally agreed to keep updated. Just telling her where I was and that I was struggling made me feel more committed. Finally, I consciously reframed my thinking. Instead of focusing on how much was left, I focused on the small piece I completed that day. I reminded myself why this project was important for the team, connecting back to purpose.
That's a fantastic real-world application. Lisa, you used your systems to provide structure, your accountability to create commitment, and reframed your thinking to reconnect with purpose. You actively managed your motivation.
It took conscious effort, but it worked. By the end of the week, I felt I had momentum again, and I was able to push through the rest of the project. It wasn't a sudden burst of inspiration. It was a diligent application of strategy.
And that's the most reliable path to sustained achievement. It's about understanding the psychological triggers for motivation, but also understanding that external factors and your own internal state will fluctuate. Your discipline equation is designed to handle those fluctuations. It's why pure willpower or pure external motivation often fails. They are too dependent on things you can't always control.
So, to recap for our listeners, we've got extrinsic motivation, which is good for starting, and intrinsic motivation, which is the sustainable fuel derived from autonomy, mastery, and purpose. And when motivation dips, we rely on our pre-built systems and accountability structures to keep us moving forward, like a well-oiled machine.
Exactly. You're not waiting for inspiration to strike. You're acting based on your commitment to the process. This is how you build unstoppable momentum. We've covered a lot of ground from willpower and systems to habits, and now the psychology of motivation. Next episode will be about how to refine and adjust your entire discipline equation.
Join us next time for reevaluating and iterating your discipline equation.
Welcome back. Last time we covered the psychology of motivation. Now let's tackle reevaluating your discipline equation.
That's so true, Alex.
We've spent a lot of time building our willpower, designing effective systems, and understanding habit loops. But what happens when those systems or even our willpower reserves start to feel a little off? Or when our goals shift?
Exactly, Lisa. Think of your discipline equation like a personal operating system. You wouldn't use the same software version forever without updates, right? Your life is constantly evolving. New challenges arise, personal circumstances change, your priorities might shift. If your systems and habits remain static, they can start to work against you.
So, instead of a rigid, unchangeable plan, we need to think of it as a dynamic, living process. Regular reevaluation is key. How do we know when to reevaluate, though? Is there a specific trigger?
Great question. There are a few signs. One is a consistent feeling of resistance or dread about your current habits or systems. If showering feels like a monumental task, or if you're constantly procrastinating on a system you designed, that's a red flag. Another is when your goals evolve. Remember back when we talked about setting clear, ambitious goals? If those goals have changed, your systems need to adapt to support them.
I've definitely experienced that feeling of resistance. I used to have a very structured morning routine. It worked perfectly for a while, but then my work schedule shifted, and suddenly that hour-long routine felt impossible to maintain. I just kept hitting a wall.
And what did you do, Lisa? You iterated, right? You adapted.
I did. I realized I couldn't force myself into the old routine anymore. So I broke it down. I identified the essential parts of that routine that really set me up for the day, maybe 5 minutes of mindfulness, or just drinking a glass of water. I saved the longer, more involved parts for weekends, or when I had more flexibility. I essentially created a light version for weekdays.
That's a perfect example of iteration. You didn't abandon the idea of a morning routine. You adjusted it to fit your new reality. You identified the core reward, feeling prepared and centered, and found a new, more concise routine to deliver that. This highlights another point. When a system stops serving its original purpose, it might have been fantastic when you first set it up, but circumstances change.
So, it's not about failure if a system breaks down, it's about recognizing it needs an update?
Precisely. Think of it as a diagnostic checkup for your discipline. I like to think about a periodic review framework. You can schedule this, perhaps quarterly or semi-annually. During this review, ask yourself a few key questions. First, are my current habits and systems still aligned with my most important goals? This takes us back to the beginning, the discipline equation itself. Is your willpower, your systems, and your habits still working together to move you towards what matters most?
That's a good starting point. What else should we be asking ourselves?
Second, are there any friction points or unnecessary complexities in my current setups? This is where Lisa's experience comes in. Were there parts of your old routine that were just too much for your current life? We need to identify those and see if they can be streamlined or removed. Sometimes, the most powerful iteration is subtraction.
Simplifying.
I love that. Sometimes we get so caught up in adding more to our systems, we forget that taking things away can be incredibly effective.
Absolutely. And the third question for your review, are there opportunities to reinforce or enhance my existing successful habits and systems? Perhaps your habit loop is working well, but there's a way to make the reward even more satisfying or the trigger more potent to cement it further. Or maybe a system that's been serving you can be automated or made more efficient.
So, it's a three-pronged approach: goal alignment, simplification, and enhancement. That sounds manageable.
It is, and it's crucial for long-term success. When we fail to iterate, we risk what I call discipline decay. Your willpower might start to dwindle because you're fighting against an outdated system, leading to burnout we discussed earlier. Your habits, once robust, become neglected because they no longer feel relevant or achievable.
Discipline decay.
That's a good way to put it. It's like a muscle that atrophies if it's not worked in new ways.
Exactly. And this iterative process isn't just about fixing what's broken. It's also about proactively seeking opportunities for growth. As you master certain habits or systems, you create capacity for new ones. This reevaluation allows you to identify those growth opportunities. Remember earlier the psychology of motivation? Successfully iterating and seeing positive results can be a huge motivator in itself. It reinforces your belief in your ability to adapt and achieve.
It almost creates a meta habit of self-improvement, doesn't it? A habit of assessing and improving your habits.
Precisely. It's about cultivating that mindset of continuous improvement. The discipline equation is not a static formula. It's a dynamic process of applying willpower, building robust systems, and refining your habits. It's about being an active architect of your success, not just a passive inhabitant of your plans.
So, to summarize for our listeners, Don't be afraid to revisit your habits and systems. Look for signs like consistent resistance or shifting goals. Use a structured review process. Ask if your habits align with your goals, if you can simplify things, and if you can enhance what's working. And remember, iterating isn't a sign of failure, it's a sign of intelligent adaptation and a key to long-term discipline.
You hit the nail on the head, Lisa. This iterative approach ensures your discipline equation remains a powerful engine for progress, not a relic of past efforts. It's this adaptability that will truly make you unstoppable. Next episode, we'll explore how to integrate this entire discipline equation into every facet of your life. Welcome back to the discipline equation. Let's integrate these principles into every part of your life.
That's right, Alex. We've explored the building blocks, and now we get to see the whole house. This episode is all about applying what we've learned not just to one specific goal, but to our careers, our relationships, our health, and our personal growth. It's about creating a holistic system for success.
Exactly. Think of it like this. You wouldn't just use a hammer to build an entire house, would you? You need a whole toolbox, and you need to know when to use each tool. The discipline equation, with its focus on willpower and systems, is our ultimate toolbox. So, how do we apply it across different life areas? Let's start with our careers.
Career is a big one for many people. We often have long-term goals, promotions, project completion, developing new skills. How does the discipline equation help here?
Well, for your career, willpower fuels the initial push. It's what gets you to put in the extra effort to learn something new or to face a challenging task. But willpower alone is exhausting. That's where systems come in. For your career, a system might be a structured approach to project management, a consistent schedule for skill development, or even a planned networking strategy. Remember our discussion on habit loops? You can design career-oriented habits, like dedicating the first hour of your day to deep work on your most important task.
So, for example, if my career goal is to become proficient in a new software, my willpower might get me to open the tutorial, but a system would be scheduling 2 30-minute practice sessions each week and setting a reminder. And the reward? Completing a small practice project or mastering a new function.
Perfectly put. That's designing your habits for maximum impact in your professional life. And it's not just about tasks. Think about your professional reputation. Being reliable, communicative, and detail-oriented are all outcomes of disciplined systems and consistent effort. Accountability engineering also plays a role. Maybe you have a mentor you report progress to, or you set public goals within your team.
That makes sense. And what about relationships? That feels a bit less quantifiable than a career goal.
It absolutely can feel that way, but discipline is crucial for healthy, thriving relationships. Willpower here translates into emotional regulation, patience, and empathy. It's the strength to listen when you're tired, to choose understanding over anger, and to make time for loved ones even when you're busy.
So, it's the willpower to have a difficult but necessary conversation, or the willpower to put my phone down and truly be present when I'm with my partner or kids.
Precisely. And the systems? They might be scheduling regular date nights, establishing family dinners as a non-negotiable time, or creating a routine for checking in with friends. These are intentional systems designed to nurture connection. It's also about designing your environment. For instance, ensuring your home environment is one that fosters open communication, free from constant distractions.
I've found that even small systems like a brief text message to say, thinking of you, can make a difference. It's a small act, but it's a consistent one. It reinforces that the relationship is a priority, even if I can't be physically present all the time.
That's a wonderful example of building sustainable ecosystems for personal triumphs, even in the realm of relationships. Now, let's talk about health, perhaps the most direct beneficiary of the discipline equation.
Health often comes down to daily choices, doesn't it? Exercise, diet, sleep.
It does. And these are areas where willpower and systems are absolutely interlinked. Willpower is what gets you out of bed for that early morning workout or away from the tempting snack. But willpower wanes. That's why robust systems are paramount. Think about a system for healthy eating, meal prepping on Sundays, having healthy snacks readily available, and removing junk food from your home environment.
I've found that making healthy food visible and accessible is key. If the fruit bowl is full and the processed snacks are hidden or non-existent, I'm much more likely to choose the healthy option. That's designing my environment to support my health goals.
Exactly. And for exercise, a system could be laying out your workout clothes the night before, joining a fitness class with a strict cancellation policy, or finding an exercise buddy. Remember when we discussed overcoming obstacles like fatigue? Having these pre-planned systems means you don't have to rely solely on willpower in the moment when you're feeling drained. You just follow the system.
And the reward loop? For health, the reward isn't always immediate. It's the long-term feeling of energy, improved mood, and physical well-being. We need to remember to acknowledge those.
Absolutely. And finally, let's touch on personal growth. This is about continuous learning, self-improvement, and cultivating new skills or interests. The discipline equation provides the framework to make that happen consistently, rather than in sporadic bursts.
So, beyond career development, this could be learning a musical instrument, becoming fluent in a new language, or developing mindfulness practices.
Precisely. Willpower is needed to push through the initial awkwardness or frustration of learning something new. But it's the systems that ensure progress. For learning an instrument, a system might be structured practice sessions, breaking down complex pieces and using practice aids. For mindfulness, it's establishing a regular meditation practice, even if it's just 5 minutes a day.
And the beauty of it all, Alex, is that these areas are interconnected. A disciplined approach to your health can boost your energy and focus for your career. Stronger relationships can provide emotional support through challenging professional times. Personal growth can bring new perspectives that benefit all other areas.
That's the holistic power of the discipline equation. It's not just about achieving one goal. It's about building a framework for success across your entire life. Remember our earlier discussion on the psychology of motivation and maintaining momentum? When you see progress in one area, fueled by your disciplined approach, it often spills over and motivates you in others. It creates a virtuous cycle.
So, to recap for our listeners, we've explored how to apply the discipline equation, that powerful combination of willpower and systems, to our careers, our relationships, our health, and our personal growth. For careers, it means structured learning and project management. For relationships, it's about intentional connection and emotional presence. For health, it's consistent habits and accessible healthy choices. And for personal growth, it's about structured learning and consistent practice.
And the key takeaway is that these areas aren't separate silos. They influence each other. By diligently applying the principles of the discipline equation across all of them, you create a powerful, integrated force for sustained success and well-being. You're not just working on one aspect of your life. You're building a more resilient, capable, and fulfilled you. It's about transforming the whole ecosystem of your life.
It really is. Join us next time as we explore what it means to become truly unstoppable.
The unstoppable self, living the discipline equation. Thanks for listening. Welcome back to the discipline equation on this final episode.
It's been an incredible journey, Alex. We've gone from understanding the fundamental building blocks to applying them in real-world scenarios. So, as we wrap up this series, What's the ultimate takeaway for our listeners? How do they embody this unstoppable self?
The unstoppable self is essentially someone who has internalized the discipline equation, willpower plus systems. It's not about innate talent or sheer luck. It's about a consistent, intentional application of effort and strategy. Think of willpower as your engine. It provides the raw power to start and to push through resistance. But an engine alone, without a chassis, wheels, and a steering mechanism, won't get you anywhere efficiently. That's where systems come in.
Right.
Systems are the carefully designed framework that guides that willpower. They reduce the energy required to make the right choices and minimize the impact of low willpower moments. We've talked about habit loops, environment design, and accountability. These are all components of a robust system.
Exactly. And the beauty of this is that it's a cyclical and reinforcing process. When you have strong systems in place, they can serve your willpower. When you can serve your willpower, you have more of it available for when you truly need it, for those unexpected challenges or moments of significant growth. This creates a positive feedback loop.
So, an unstoppable self isn't someone who never struggles, but someone who has built resilience through this equation. They might face fatigue, as we discussed previously, but they have mechanisms, their systems, to navigate through it without derailing completely. They don't just hope for discipline, they engineer it.
Precisely. And remember our discussion on iterating and reevaluating? Living the discipline equation isn't a static achievement. It's a dynamic process. The world changes, your goals evolve, and your systems need to adapt. An unstoppable self is an agile self. They regularly check in, ask themselves if their systems are still serving their goals, and are willing to make adjustments.
That adaptability is crucial. It prevents stagnation. If you're too rigid with your systems, you risk them becoming obsolete or, worse, a burden. But if you're constantly in a state of fine-tuning, you maintain that momentum we talked about earlier.
And this integration, which we covered previously, is key. The discipline equation isn't just for one area of your life, like work or fitness. It's a holistic framework. When you apply willpower and systems to your health, your relationships, your learning, your finances, you start to see a profound shift. These successes then spill over, reinforcing your belief in your own capabilities and strengthening your motivation across the board.
It sounds like the unstoppable self is someone who has moved beyond just trying to be disciplined to simply being disciplined. It's less of an effort and more of an authentic way of operating.
That's a perfect way to put it, Lisa. It's about embedding these principles so deeply that they become second nature. It's about recognizing that every small, consistent action, guided by intention and supported by a smart system, compounds over time. It's the accumulation of all those deliberate choices that builds an unstoppable momentum.
And it's empowering to know that this isn't some secret talent reserved for a few. It's a skill set that can be developed by anyone willing to put in the work. We've laid out the blueprint, and now it's about each listener picking up the tools and building their own unique path.
Absolutely. You have the engine, your willpower, your desire, your drive. And you have the blueprints for the vehicle, your systems, your habits, your environment. The process of becoming unstoppable is simply about constructing and refining that vehicle, then consistently steering it towards your vision.
So, for our listeners at home, as they finish this series, what's your final piece of encouragement?
My encouragement is to embrace the journey. There will be days your willpower feels low and your systems might creak a little. That's normal. The difference between someone who succeeds and someone who doesn't often comes down to how they react in those moments. Do you give up, or do you use your learned strategies to course correct? An unstoppable self is defined not by perfection, but by persistence and adaptability. Keep building, keep iterating, and keep moving forward. You're now equipped.
That's a fantastic message to end on. We've covered the discipline equation, willpower as the engine, systems as the architecture. We've explored the habit loop, designed effective systems, engineered accountability, managed fatigue, optimized our environments, and built sustainable personal ecosystems. We've delved into the psychology of motivation, learned to reevaluate and iterate, and integrated these principles into all life areas. This final episode has brought it all together to show what it means to live this equation and become truly unstoppable.
Thank you all for being with us on this journey. It's been a privilege to share these concepts with you.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening to the series.